Recently, there have been a number of high-profile government projects which have developed public-private partnerships, such as the Department of Health's Change for Life and the Transport for London's cycling scheme. By developing these public-private partnerships, you're able to increase resources and reach. Programme H also developed a public-private partnership with Durex to increase the resources they had to make the project more sustainable.
Programme H was born out of, I would say 15 years ago, there was a lot of interest to say we need to do something with men and boys and gender equality. We've got to add them to the equation, but there weren't a lot of tools or approaches on how to do it. We had the themes of HIV in mind. How do we get young men to participate in prevention, use condoms, practice safer sex, prenatal care, if they become fathers, to be engaged around that, to see that men should be involved in the care work as well, and a big focus as well around gender-based violence. The cornerstone of it is well-designed group education activities where young men come together, the trained facilitator, to critically reflect about these ideas around manhood. One of the things we use is a cartoon video with no words that has a pencil that draws a boy doing all the things that sort of a typical boy is supposed to do, and how does he question that pencil? And that became a way that you get a group discussion going around, what's the pencil? What is the pencil in our own lives that tries to draw us to do these things? And how can we take control of the pencil and say, wait a minute, I'm going to draw myself differently?
Durex was invited by Instituto Promundo to take part in Programme H, and what appealed to me was the passion and the commitment that that organisation had. As part of the campaign, Orogar was created, which is the lifestyle social marketing component, which reinforces some of the messages that the youngsters would have gained within the classroom. Orogar roughly translates as to in the heat of the moment. So Durex produced bespoke Orogar condoms for this programme.
And the heat of the moment refers to the moment when a guy knows that he should use a condom, but maybe he doesn't have one with him, it's going to break the mood, or he knows that he shouldn't use violence against his girlfriend, but he sees her with another guy, he loses control, uses violence. And we could come up with some messaging both in street theater as well as postcards and billboards that captured that and tried to show guys in the heat of the moment doing the right thing. So just those subtle touches, we think, made an important difference for young men and young women coming to say, oh yeah, the condom goes with these other behaviors. I don't want to use violence. I want to be responsible. I also want good sex. I want safe sex. That condom brand was designed to say all those things. From the content of what the messages were to the media itself was all decided together with young men and young women from the community.
The promotion in the local community involved posters, peer education, community-based radio, and one of the successful elements of the campaign was to actually involve the peer promoters themselves in the advertising. And we armed the peer promoters with skills and knowledge for them to be able to go out into the local community to talk to people, engage with them about the issues, and also to sell product. And another important factor was increasing availability of condoms. So condoms were promoted and sold in clothing stores, in music stores, in bakeries, in bars and clubs, places where young people would frequent, most likely in the early hours of the morning when condoms would be required. It was important that these condoms were sold within the marketplace. If there was a value attached to the condoms, then youngsters would be more prone to actually want to buy them and use them. And revenue generated from the sale was ploughed back into Programme H and Orogar.
We were quite pleased that the impact evaluation results, where we combined the campaign and the group education, we saw increased condom use and reduced symptoms of sexually transmitted infections. We saw greater negotiation by young men with their partners, and we saw a little bit of indication of greater HIV testing. So some of the other things were harder to measure change in that fairly short amount of time, but to us the key one was the attitude change, because all those attitudes are also related to their behaviors. you believe into this, this more rigid, violent version of masculinity, you're more likely to have carried out violence. So getting guys to change those attitudes, we think, is really key to the whole process.